Alright, check it out, Hebrews. Israel been Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. Israel been Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, Hebrews, this is what I want to show. How white supremacy and how the non-pigmented people feel superior and think that they have the divine right to do anything or control the earth and do what they want to unhindered. And that white supremacy kind of got an origin, and it come from when we Hebrews broke the covenant and we abandoned our heritage to some Babylonian scribes. And those Babylonian scribes that we abandoned our heritage to wrote history for Babylon for thousands of years. For thousands of years. You know, that's like everybody that basically come from Babylon are tenanted with Amorites. You know what I'm saying? They are tenanted with the Amorites. You know, you know what I'm saying? They tenanted with the Amorites. And some Babylonian scribes got our heritage when we was playing around with that Egyptian religion. You know, we played around with that Egyptian religion for a long time, ever since we Exodus with Moses, and us playing with that Egyptian religion allowed us, you know, caused us to lose our heritage, and we lost our heritage. And when we lost our heritage, the most significant thing is that some Babylonian scribes was placed in our land. Some Babylonian scribes was placed in our land, and they are called the Sephardi Jews today. But in the past, they was called, you know, Sephardim, and they was from Sipper and Nipper. You know, Nipper is the twin city, man, to that place. In this place, you couldn't be a king or rule nowhere in the Mesopotamian area. And here is where the archives and the books in the cuneiform texts were kept. You know, they archives and stuff. But this is what's so significant about the people from Sipper and from Babylon. You know, Babylon is short for Babel, you know, which means mixing, to mix and to cause confusion. Okay, the people from Sipper are from Sephardim, gonna go all the way back. They gonna be the only people. They gonna be the only people that can continuously trace their roots all the way back to the Tower of Babel. You know, they had to have records and writings and measurements and some type of organization when Nimrod was orchestrating and having the Tower of Babel built, you know, because he rebelled. You know, he said that the Creator done flooded the earth, and how he ain't finna get flooded out. Now he gonna build him a skyscraper all the way up to the sky, so, you know, the flood don't get him, you know, because it's gonna go way up into the sky. So that's what the idea that Nimrod had, and Nimrod was in cahoots with some other people that had come out the Caucasus Mountain. You know, them Nephilims and Rephilims come out the Caucasus Mountain, and then they came down to Assyria. And when they came down to Assyria, you know, they from the Caucasus Mountain and from them cold regions, you know what I'm saying, up there, that's where the no pigmented people hung out at. And then they hung out in Turkey too. You know, Turkey had some underground caves. They had underground caves, and they would go hop from one mountain to another. They'll sneak on down from the Caucasus Mountain, and they'll go into them underground caves in Turkey. And then, that's like on this side, when they be saying, well, the Aryans come from Iran and so forth. Well, if you look at Iran, they got the Zagros Mountains. There go some more mountains. That's where the non-pigmented people had to hang out at, in the mountains or by rivers and lakes where it'll be a breeze or where they can go cool off real quick, because back in the days they didn't have no air conditioners, and they didn't have no refrigeration, and they didn't have no relief from the sun or from that oppressing heat. So them folks that didn't have no pigmentation hung out in the mountains and stuff. That's why they say the Iranians. That's because the Zagros Mountains, the Iranian stock, and how them folks ain't got no pigmentation and stuff now today is because them folks would hop from the Caucasus Mountain and hightail it straight to the Zagros, and they hide out up in there, and then they'll come on back around, on the coast side, and come on up and down up in Babylon and stuff, and then they'll, and then they'll kick it there, and then they'll try to get on down up in here in Africa, because that's where all the happenings was. That's where all the technology and all the science and all the cure from them diseases and stuff that them folks carried around and stuff. And then they'll go right up into the Ethiopian mountains, because this was like the closest mountains. They'll hightail it from there and shoot on across there up to the Ethiopian mountains. But the white supremacy stuff and how the non-pigmented people start feeling superior, that's what this video about. It's gonna come about when we Hebrews broke the covenant for religion, for Egyptian religion, and we abandoned our covenant to the people from Sepharvaim, the people that were responsible for the history of Babylon since the Tower of Babel. They have a continuous history. That's like right now today, all the governments in the Western Hemisphere, and what you understand with words, colleges, and if it ain't in the hieroglyphs like the Egyptians wrote or something like that, and if it's in the words and in the forms that it's in now today, then them people develop it. You know what I'm saying? That's like, us coming into our Hebrew heritage. I've been running across some Jews, on the YouTube, on the comment part, trying to stress how we can't be the Israelites and how we are mistaken by our interpretation of scriptures. Well, let me tell you, Hebrews, this. Them folks are scribes from Babylon. They control the English language. They control the English language with its words, in its meanings. They can double back and be done said something one day, and then they can come back and make the words and everything mean something entirely different. That's why you can't trust nothing that them folks say, and you got to be like King Josiah, that don't turn to the left or to the right with dealing with them. And you got to stay on course with your Hebrew heritage, because you dealing with some people that control history for thousands of years and had governments in administration for thousands of years. The Amorites was all over the earth thousands of years before we become Hebrew Israelites and come into the heritage that we supposed to have got, that would have had extinguished their culture because they had lost their ways. But this what I want to stress, how the white supremacy gonna come off them Jewish myths. You know what I'm saying? White supremacy gonna come off them Jewish myths. You know what I'm saying? And how them people got a superior type thinking is gonna be because the Amorites, who are a non-pigmented people that had Tazarete, and that because they mixed with Cain descendants, the Nephilims and the Raphilims that came out the Caucasus Mountain. You know what I'm saying? Come up out the Caucasus Mountain and settle down, and you know what I'm saying? These parts, the Amorites mess with them, and Cain kids that went abroad. You see, Cain kids are gonna be the first to go abroad in Genesis. You know what I'm saying? And I'm establish this right here. So we can see, you know, Cain kids gonna be the first one to be moving around and stuff. So if they the first to be moving around, then they gonna be the first to run into them Nephilims and them Raphilims. You see what I'm saying? So and then the Nephilims and Raphilims ain't nothing but Cain descendants that didn't have no pigmentation. You know what I'm saying? They ain't have no pigmentation, you know, because the Creator put Tazarat on Cain for killing his brother Abel. You know, Cain gonna be the first non-pigmented person. And he mixed up with them heavenly hosts some kind of way, and they had some kids some kind of way, some descendants. And them folks would be killers and liars and murderers. You know what I'm saying? Alright, if you look right here, and then if you go to Genesis, this is going to be Genesis 10. Genesis 10, and then you see Cain descendants. You know what I'm saying? When, you know what I'm saying, you get down to Cain descendants, you see Nimrod. See, them people been around since Nimrod. The people from Sepharvaim, and I'm going to show you them. And they settled, they was placed in our land in 722 BC, and they responsible for Babylon history since the Tower of Babel. You know what I'm saying? And they was one people. You see what I'm saying? That's why come how they be striving, the Jews, what they call the globalists, the cabal, how they be striving for that one world government is because they origin come from when Nimrod, and it was one government under him, and they was his scribes and stuff. You see what I'm saying? Okay, Cain kids. Alright, Canaan kids, alright, and as you read on down, you know what I'm saying, they tell you about, you know, Cain kids, and they get the name and all about it, and then you get down to the 18, and it says, and the Arvadites, and the Zemarites, and the Hamathites, afterwards were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. So Cain kid spreading abroad, they gonna come across, you know, from right there. You know what I'm saying? And they going on up. You know what I'm saying? They gonna come across them Nephilims and them Raphilims. And it's like the Sinites and all them folks. Sinite is Sino. You know what I'm saying? And the Sino people are them Asians and Chinese folks. You know, they'll tell you that they name is Sino and Sinai, and they some kind of way hooking their DNA up to the folks in Africa. They, you know, they are Hamites that lost their pigmentation and stuff. They had mixed with the Nephilims up in these parts where it's real cold and stuff. And that's where the Nephilims and Raphilims, Cain descendants, gonna kick it at. And then they gonna kick it down here, you know what I'm saying, to the just like the bottle, the opening, the door right here was the Caucasus Mountain. And then they'll duck on down, you know, they got tired of kicking it and watching them folks in Assyria and Babylon riding around and walking around clean with clothes on, with food and stuff. They smelling all that food and stuff. They gonna come on down about the Caucasus Mountain, and then they start kicking it into Syria, and then they'll go straight to Babylon, or sometime they'll circle around and stuff. Sometime they'll circle around and around, and I'm gonna show you that Babylon, Assyria, is right close to where the Caucasus Mountain would have been. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of right there at the foot of it too. That's why the Syrians got their mouth knocked out. They was fooling with them folks. Alright. See Assyria right there. That's where the Syrian Empire would have been. And that's the Hittites. That's going to be Cain descendants. They try to connect them to Cain, the Canaanites, through Heth, but that ain't what we wrote. We didn't write that. We didn't write that. So everybody that don't have a genealogy and stuff in Genesis and the Torah gonna be Cain descendants, some kind of way linked to them and stuff. If they ain't listed with Ham, Shem, and Japhet descendants, and then they gonna be Cain descendants that ain't got no listening. You know what I'm saying? Because the Creator didn't give Cain no instructions when he killed his brother, and the Creator told him to get on away from there, to get out the garden and get on away. And then Adam and Eve had Seth. But, this is where Syria was. And, them folks, got their mouth tore out, and this is where the Caucasus Mountain would be right up in there. That'll be the Caspian Sea on this side, and that'll be the Black Sea on this side. And as you go down, you know what I'm saying, you see Babylon. This was where the Amorites and all them folks held control and built, Babylon up. But then they gonna have, like I say, the Sepharvims. Sipper is gonna go all the way back to the Tower of Babel before the Creator dispersed the languages. Dispersed them and gave everybody different languages. So they gonna want that one world government and stuff. Well, them people was placed in our land, and they were scribes and stuff. So let me show you this, and then I'm gonna show you some videos of these folks telling lies and stuff. But this one brother named Tony Martin is telling the truth, because he gonna tell you where white supremacy started from. And they slick to start it off the Hermetic myth, because we had ran into Africa. Then they gonna classify us as Hamites. But I'm gonna show you how we ran into Africa in the book of Jeremiah during the Babylonian Wars. You see, and then we didn't take no scribes into Africa with us, so we didn't have nobody to continuously write our history after we broke the covenant, which would make no sense, breaking the covenant and then running into Africa and then try to be some Hebrews and do Moses' law up off the land. No, it don't work like that. Once we was up off the land, curses instantly activated. That was one of the reasons why the Creator sent them Scythians, them Chaldean, Ashkenazi folks to chase us up off the land. It's because once we was up off the land, then the curses are activated. All right, but if you go to 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 24, you'll see that word Sepharvim. Sepharvim is the Hebrew word for Sephardi, Sephardic, and Sephardim. They are the people that's responsible for Babylon's history and setting up governments and hiding in the shadows and kicking it in the back since the Tower of Babel. You see, they the only people that got a continuous history and a continuous ethnic like stock that go all the way back to the Tower of Babel. You see what I'm saying? And that's why come them folks be pushing that one world government, and that's why come they want us to mix up and to be part of that. You see, the worst thing you could do is to be influenced by them and the culture that they propagate. You lose your soul, and they mix you in, and you become part of what they call the Semitic groups. The Semitic people are not Shemitic. You see, they try to confuse you with their word. And like I say, they are Babylonian scribes. And they created the whole English language with its meanings and everything. So it ain't nothing for them to mix some words up and have you thinking one thing when it means something else. See what I'm saying? So, they cold with that. But let me read this. All right. And the king of Babylon and the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cutter and from Abel, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities therein. And then as if you look and read over here, you're going to see that the folks start to do what we was doing in the northern kingdom. You see what I'm saying? They start to take on our culture. See, so they fear the Elohim and made unto themselves of the lowest of them priests of the high places, who sacrifice for them in the houses of the high places. You see, that's like now today. You know, they can take somebody of low statutes and then they bring them up and put them on high. You see what I'm saying? And that's what they've been doing to us and what they call the entertainment industry. You see what I'm saying? And then when they bring those people on high, they can make them perform and project the image that they want to. That's like now they got Cardi B as the moral spokesman. They trying to make her the moral spokesman for the community and shit and stuff, for the so-called black community. Now they done made Cardi B the moral spokesman and stuff, and it's about what she say and what she care about. Man, that's the power of those Babylonian scribes to like how they elevated them priests back in the days and had them priests function for them. Well, that's the same as what they do now in the entertainment industry, you know, because, you know, we lost our heritage, you know, to them, and they reinforced the lost heritage during the slavery days when they told us we were somebody else and forced they doctrines and they beliefs and stuff on us. Okay, so we see that, you know, I'm going to show you that, you know, the white supremacy going to come off them Jewish myths. And I'm going to show you that the Jewish myths going the myths going to come off us breaking the covenant. You see what I'm saying? So that's where white supremacy going to come from, the Hebrew Israelites breaking the covenant and allowing some Babylonian scribes that didn't have no pigmentation to come and take our heritage over. You know what I'm saying? That's like, man, if you listen to this brother right here, and listen to what he say, you know what I'm saying? This is a doctor right here. And this brother is real smart, and he done did some research, and he's a doctor. Well, he was a doctor at college, you know, something mysteriously happened to him. But anyway, he documented the Jews participating, both groups participating in the slave trade, and how they kind of like, you know, held control of it, being merchants already. You see what I'm saying? Being merchants. And we know that the Phoenicians had and Try and Sidon and all those spots that was close, you know, to our homeland on the coast, did trade around the whole Mediterranean area in merchant ships, and how that they went to Spain in 70 AD when they ran across North Africa when her Edomite evil temple was destroyed, and they stayed in Spain and Portugal until the transatlantic slave trade started, and until they got their hands on the land over here in the West. And when they got their hands over here on the lands in the West, then they went to the Sahara, where they knew where we were because of the Greek times, you know, because them people controlled the Egyptian Empire through the Greeks. And them folks had contact and documented us in Africa, and they called us the Gramantians, was our first derogatory name in Africa. And if you study the Gramantians, they try to cover the Gramantian history up with Berber history, but the Berbers were the barbarian Amorites that couldn't sneak into Egypt, you know what I'm saying, this way, you know what I'm saying, on the east way. They couldn't sneak into Egypt on the east way. So, you know, them Amorites had to sell on down to Libya, you know what I'm saying, around the coast of that way, because you know that them beasts lived up above us in the north. You know, the enemies lived above us in the north, and it was easier for them Amorites to slide on around this way and try to circle into Egypt through that way and stuff, and they would hang out. Well, they tried to cover our history up in Africa with the Berber history, and the Berber ain't responsible for nothing. They just roaming around stealing and robbing and stuff. You know, they try to cover our history up with them and stuff. I'm gonna start going into that. Okay, let's listen to this brother right here. Let's listen to this brother right here, because he gonna tell you, you know what I'm saying, where white supremacy come from and how it started from, you know what I'm saying, them Jewish myths that they created. They can create a myth because they been keeping control of writing and institution of writings. That's like, say for instance, if they got some people that's going into some new territory, and one of them going there, the first thing them folks gonna do is set up the press and set up the writing, and they gonna take that over ASAP. If they going into a new land or going into a land where there ain't no press or no writings and stuff, they gonna set that up ASAP. They gonna set a school up, they gonna set all that up, and then they gonna start putting their information on the people and stuff. And that's what they've been doing for a long time and stuff, since the Tower of Babel. Alright, listen.
Jewish involvement in that transatlantic slave trade precedes by many, many years, perhaps by 1,000 years, the actual beginnings of the transatlantic slave trade. And let me explain. It seems to me that the most important theoretical underpinning for that transatlantic slave trade was what has come to be known in many quarters as the Hamitic myth. Some people call it the curse of Ham story. When the slave trade developed, beginning in 1441 and for hundreds of years thereafter, people who prosecuted that trade looked around for intellectual justification, for rationalizations, for pretexts, if you will. And a variety of pretexts were advanced to justify the slave trade, to allow people to sleep well at night, for their consciences to be clear. One justification was that Africans were heathens. They weren't Christian, they were heathens, and therefore it was all right to enslave heathens. It would not be all right to enslave one's Christian brother, but it would be okay. It would be morally justifiable to enslave a heathen. That was one kind of rationale that was advanced to justify the slave trade. Another rationale was that Africans were less than human. Africans were devoid of reason, could not reason, were a subspecies of creature. They weren't human, and therefore, again, whereas there might have been some moral opprobrium attached to enslaving one's fellow human beings, in the case of Africans, since they weren't quite human, that kind of treatment of Africans was okay. The most important, however, of all of these rationales that was advanced to try to justify the slave trade was the question of this Hamitic myth. That is the notion that Africans were cursed by God himself.
They knew we was cursed. They knew we was cursed and knew who we were. But they called us Hamites to cover it up.
The hewers of wood and the drawers of water for other races. The authority for this idea was said to reside in the book of Genesis, in the story in the book of Genesis. Now, there's a story in the book of Genesis.
Yeah, that's the Babylonian scribes. That's the Babylonian scribes smoking weed and on drugs, trying to interpret the Torah. That's all it was.
But the sort of spin that was put on that story that enabled it to become the basis for the Hamitic myth actually comes out of the Talmud, the Jewish holy book, the Talmud. Somewhere around 500 AD or thereabouts, the Babylonian Talmud. Let me just describe the difference between the story as it appears in the Bible.
See, dudes say the Babylonian Talmud started the Hamitic myth that would lead to our enslavement. You see what I'm saying? That's them Babylonian scribes, and they only got that power. They only got that power because we broke the covenant for Egyptian religion. And I'm gonna show this, and I show this in all the videos. But because them people did that, and them Babylonian scribes got a hold to our heritage, it allowed the people from everywhere to start claiming the Hebrew history. You know, when we ran into Africa, let me show this. Let me show you this. When we ran into Africa in the book of Jeremiah, gonna be our last act on the promised land. But first, like I always show in all the other videos, how it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. You know what I'm saying? And that's like I'm doing some research showing that when the Assyrians took the three tribes, or the Hebrews that was stationed, you know, the fighters probably gonna be stationed throughout all the little tribes and stuff, you know, because they did the fighting and stuff. And then how the Assyrians took them, and then how that, you know, they took them to the river Harbor and the river Gazan and the Chauber River. Well, that's gonna be the same river that where the Babylonians took the exiles during Ezekiel in them times. So if the Hebrews was taken during the Assyrian times to Harbor, then that's gonna really explain because the prophet Ezekiel was sent to the tribes of Israel. You know, he was sent to the tribes of Israel and Judah. And then I already showed how it wasn't no 10 lost tribes, you know. And then that's like the 10 lost tribe myth allow other people to claim Israelite heritage that don't have no business claiming the Israelite heritage because they ain't Hebrews. You see what I'm saying? They ain't Hebrews, you know, and then these people be, you know, crazy. You know what I'm saying? And then they try to show everybody as being Hebrews, but the people from the transatlantic slave trade. I'm talking about, you know, they'll welcome and open their arms to anybody trying to claim a Israelite heritage that don't have nothing to do with the transatlantic slave trade. You know, they slick know what time it is, and it's like I say that these people been popping games since the Tower of Babel, since Babel. Since the Creator confused the languages and scattered them folks been controlling since then and been trying to bring back the same scenario that the Creator broke up. Okay, no 10 lost tribes. You know what I'm saying? You have to go to King Hezekiah because he gonna be 7 years after the so-called, you know, Assyrian captivity. But you know, I can show you that real quick too. You know, if you go to First Chronicles, that's gonna be chapter 5. First Chronicles chapter 5, and we're gonna get to verse 18, and then you're gonna see that, you know what I'm saying, that these are the people that, you know, I kind of see that, you know, that we had knowledge with water and stuff from dealing and living in Africa and stuff, you know what I'm saying, and in Egypt, and that sometime when the enemies come kidnapped us in the past, it's because they come kidnapped us to try to get the technology that we had and stuff. You know, they'll try to get the technology that we had because we had technology with building, and then we had technology with the water system. You know, because King Hezekiah, you know, had brung some water from Gahon and then brung it into, you know, the city. And then immediately after that, the Babylonians came trying to talk to him and stuff like that. And then how that, when the Babylonians kidnapped us, that they took us to a river spot. So, that's like back in the days, a town couldn't grow or flourish if it didn't have fresh water supply. And being that we knew how to handle and make, dams and all kind of technological stuff that we just knew how to do. And then how them people will come and get us and make us build that stuff in their lands. And I'm going to try to show that happened too with the Hebrews that was taken during the Assyrian time, was taken to the same place that the Hebrews was taken to during during Ezekiel time, with King Nebuchadnezzar and them taking them. All right, but if you look right here, let's lay this grounds down right here, and all this will start the myths that the enemies would use to create the 10 lost tribe myth. You see, because if we go into Africa and then we ain't translating our history, and then our history fell into some people that's been in control of Babylon history for thousands of years, then they gonna write all kind of stuff, and then especially when they trying to say that they the Hebrews. You see what I'm saying? And I'm gonna show you them folks crazy. All right, they ain't got no curses on them. When the Hebrews broke the covenant and was chased up off the land, they instantly supposed to be in captivity and going through hardships until the Creator free them and bring them back. You see what I'm saying? To the status that they supposed to be on. You see, and we know that these people ain't been in no bondages controlling no banks and controlling no institutions, setting up no colleges. That's control right there, and that's blessings. Those are not curses. All right. The sons of Reuben and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh, valiant men, able to bear a buckler and sword and to shoot bow and skillful in war, were 44,703 score that went out to war. Okay, so them gonna be the ones that the Assyrians need. You know what I'm saying? Because I got history showing that the Assyrians was getting into it with them folks that come up out the Caucasus Mountain. You know what I'm saying? Cain descendants, and them Scythians, Japhet folks mixed all the way with Cain seed, mixed all the way with them. And then, Ashkenazi and them would come down. They would represent a Cain, a Japhet stock like, that Gog and Magog type like folks, they nephews and stuff, they gonna have, some Cain in them. Alright, and then they would come down and kick it in Assyria and stuff, they'll come out the Caucasus Mountain and then they'll hang out in Assyria and stuff and try to eat and clean up, and then they'll rob the place. And that's what they did to Assyria. They robbed them. And then the Assyrians would come try to get us to help them. You see what I'm saying? That's like Prophet Isaiah prophesies everything concerning us and all the stuff that we would go through, basically dealing with other people and stuff. And he even said that the Syrians would need us and try to, that it'll be a highway from Assyria to Egypt, and how we'll be in cahoots with them folks. That's because the Assyrians was fighting with them folks coming up out them mountains and stuff that had got lodged in their nation. Assyria was kind of like on a mixed level because the people in Babylon was mixed. Look, the Zagros Mountains right behind them, and then the Caucasus Mountain up there at the top. You see what I'm saying? And then to the side, Cain descendants, and then them other non-pigmented folks all right there. Well, they couldn't just go drop down in the African stuff, but they'll come try to ease in this way. And then Canaan, the Canaanite territory was going to be like the dough for them. That's where all the wickedness was from from Canaan all the way to Mesopotamia. And that's why the Creator gave us that new law from Moses, that new culture that was to extinguish them. Okay, these are the people that the Assyrians needed to help them fight them folks coming up out the Caucasus Mountain and stuff. And the Yah of Israel stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Talakaplasner, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh, and brought them unto Halah and Harbor and Har and to the river Gazan unto this day. You know, I can show you that during the Babylonian wars, that's where they took the Hebrews too, that they kidnapped. You know, so we see that them three tribes is who, you know what I'm saying, the Assyrians took. Okay. You know what I'm saying? We know the Assyrians took them. Okay, so then if you go to 30, this Second Chronicles 30, this is 7 years after them people been placed. Them Sepharvims was placed in Samaria, and this is 7 years. This is under King Hezekiah, and King Hezekiah gonna have the rest of the tribes. You see what I'm saying? The rest of the tribes gonna still be home, and they gonna be home under his son Manasseh. They gonna be under Manasseh. They gonna be home under Manasseh's son Amon, and they gonna definitely be there under King Josiah. And the tribes that wasn't mentioned during Hezekiah time, King Hezekiah gonna be mentioned during King Josiah time. And King Josiah is a prophecy king. You know, he was prophesied to come on and clean up that Egyptian religion 300 years before he was born, and he came about. You know, that's like Cyrus. Prophet Isaiah prophesies Cyrus being born and freeing the exiles. You see, that's how he knew about the exiles' history and how the exiles would be destroyed. You know, because he tell you, you know, our whole captivity, Prophet Isaiah do. But when Cyrus was born, you know what I'm saying, he, you know, that was like 127 years before Cyrus was born. Prophet Isaiah tell you, you know what I'm saying, about him. Okay. Alright, so let me hurry up and get into some of this, because I need to show that, you know, where these white, you know, white supremacy gonna come from the Jews telling the lies, and the Jews portraying to be Hebrew Israelites as non-pigmented, because those Jews are non-pigmented and don't have no pigmentation. And then that they say that they the chosen people, and then they created the myth saying that the 10 lost tribes went all up to them folks, all up to the northern nations in the Europe and Asia, you know what I'm saying, and all them places. Then that's gonna make them folks think that they was Hebrews. And then when the Babylonian scribes come by and do trade with them later on, you know what I'm saying, in history, the Babylonian scribes from Babylon set up trades everywhere, especially all in Africa. And you see, this is gonna be where Nigeria at. Look, you see right there on the coast, you know what I'm saying, how it is in Africa. Well, that's what they did in Ghana, Nigeria, and all them places. You know, that's where the Sephardi Jews, you know, did trade coming from Spain, you know, when they dropped down, and they had trade everywhere, all over, all in Ethiopia. So they gonna make Jews everywhere. In Ethiopia, they gonna make them in South Africa, you know what I'm saying? They gonna make Jews everywhere from doing trade and stuff, and it's gonna be in the AD days, and those folks gonna be doing a form of Judaism, because when the Hebrews ran into Africa during the Babylonian wars, we had abandoned our heritage and our culture. Did not one of us go into Africa to do the covenant that Moses gave us, and that them folks doing a version of our covenant gonna come from people later on that came into Africa to do trade. That's why come you don't see no curses on them folks, and how them folks didn't get on no ship to Egypt or none of that stuff. Okay. Now, alright, King Hezekiah. King Hezekiah gonna have all this is in 715 BC. He gonna have all the tribes at home. You know what I'm saying? He gonna have all the tribes at home. And then as you let me read this real quick. And Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah and wrote letters also unto and Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah and wrote letters also unto Ephraim and Manasseh, that they should come to the house of the Elohim at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel. For the king had taken counsel and his princes and all the congregation in Jerusalem to keep the Passover in the 2nd month, for they could not keep it at that time, because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently, neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. And the thing pleased the king and all the congregation, so they established a decree and make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to the house of the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel at Jerusalem, for they had not done so of a long time in such sort as it was written. So the post went with the letter from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah, according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Elohim Yah of Abraham, Isaac, Israel, and he will return to the remainder of you that are escaped out of the hands of the king of Assyria. So he just said that we escaped out of the hands of the king of Assyria. This is in 715 BC. And then as you read on down, you know what I'm saying, he gonna let you know that the tribes are still here. You know what I'm saying? That's like, so the post passed from city to city through the country of Ephraim, Manasseh, even to Zebulun, but they laughed them to scorn and mocked them. Nevertheless, the verse of Asher, Zebulun, and you know what I'm saying, humbled themselves. And Manasseh humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem. You know what I'm saying? So they come to the Passover dinner. But he said from Beersheba. He said from Beersheba even to Dan. So let's look up Beersheba even to Dan. Now, it wouldn't make no sense to send a post to some people that ain't there. You know what I'm saying? And then he said we escaped during the Assyrian times when the king of Assyria came, and that we escaped the king of Assyria. All right, you see Beersheba right there. All right, so look, they will go all the way up here to Dan, to the end of our inheritance. You know what I'm saying? And everybody will come to the Passover. You see Manasseh, Zebulun, Asher. You know what I'm saying? All of them will come to the Passover. Then Ephraim. You know what I'm saying? He named all them, and then remember the other folks on the east side of the Jordan got kidnapped by the Syrians, the fighters. All right, so then if everybody's still there, then it can't be no 10 lost tribes. And then as you get to the other, you know what I'm saying, to 2nd Chronicles 30, and then you get down to verse 18, you're going to see that, you know, Ishkar, Zebulun, you know, cleansed themselves and came to the Passover. You know, Ephraim, you know, Manasseh, all of them came, and Ephraim represent the whole house of Joseph. You see, and then as you read, you know what I'm saying, you're going to see that his son Manasseh got kidnapped, you know what I'm saying, and you know, after King Hezekiah passed away, that his son Manasseh got kidnapped and got taken to you know what I'm saying, the Syrians. It was at the last part of their power. You see what I'm saying? And how he took the Manasseh to Babylon. You see, because the Assyrians controlled Babylon. You know, but then them non-pagan people got too deep in Babylon, Man, to where Syria couldn't take Babylon over no more. And then them folks came and took Assyria over. You see how King Hezekiah's son was taken to Babylon, and then he prayed and straightened up, and the Creator let him come back. See, them folks making you do some work on them rivers and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna try to show how King has a king Ezekiel was taken to that same river Gazan, but as you read and then you get down to Amon, this is gonna be way uh, King Amon's son, King Josiah. This is gonna be way after the Syrian captivity, and you're gonna see that he cleaned up the whole Israel from the idol worship. He cleaned it up, and guess what? He mentioned all the tribes that's not mentioned during King Hezekiah's time. You see what I'm saying? And all these folks will go into Africa. All the tribes will go into Africa. That's why come these folks crazy for telling these lies and stuff. You know what I'm saying? If you listen, man, to this lie right here, listen to this devil. Listen to this devil. Man, these folks off. Alright, I'm saying listen to this devil. This devil gonna say that the Hebrews.
But his primary focus or commission was to Israel, not Judah. So what is so strange or mysterious about this? And why is this such a big deal? The answer is found in our second key. Ezekiel was not writing for his day.
He gonna say that Ezekiel.
An overview of the book shows that Ezekiel was describing a time of great
was
trouble
talking
for
to
all
Israel 127 years before. This man
would eventually lead them into military defeat and captivity. But here's the rub. The house of Israel had already been defeated and led into captivity.
He telling a lie.
130 years earlier.
He telling a lie.
So the question is, what good is a warning that comes 130 years too late?
You see them devils be lying. This is why
our second key is so important. Ezekiel was not writing for his day. But if not then, when? As with so many prophecies of the Bible, there is a smaller former fulfillment that is a type of a much greater future fulfillment. That greater fulfillment of Ezekiel's prophecies is yet ahead of us. And believe it or not, this will matter to you.
Listen to this devil.
The house of Israel eventually came out of captivity and migrated away from the Middle East.
But he taking that.
They are often referred to as the lost 10 tribes of Israel.
See, I'm sure ain't no 10 lost tribes.
History and the Bible reveal that they are not lost.
But this devil,
they have to be somewhere in existence on earth.
This devil
today,
gonna say that all the European folks are the
Middle
Hebrews.
Eastern Jewish state called Israel. For sure, Jews are Israelites, but they are not the 10-tribed house of Israel, which was given promises of great agricultural and mineral wealth at the time of the end.
Dude, this fool crazy.
As shocking as it may sound, the British-descended and American peoples, along with a number of nations in northwest Europe, make up these 10 tribes. This is Ezekiel's true audience. Ezekiel was never able to personally take God's message
per devil.
Of individual.
Per devil. Per devil. Per devil. That's like this devil right here. Here's another devil.
We're actually returning now to Judaism. There's, I think, 48 synagogues now in Nigeria who are from the Igbo, and that number is growing rapidly. The leader of the Free Igbo movement, if you will Google, his name is Nnamdi Mahdi. He wears a talit, a prayer shawl, to his court appearances when he goes in for.
Those are the people that they did trade with, and then turn them into some Jews and embracing them and trying to put them in control, man, of our heritage before we come into our heritage. They trying to make the black Jews that didn't have no curses on them, you know what I'm saying, in control.
Reference would be Amari Stoudemire, high-profile basketball player, rapper Kendrick Lamar, who's got.
But all this gonna come from the 10 Lost Tribe, man.
Views on some of his stuff. These are people who are influential, and people look at them like maybe they're crazy. How do they have? Going to be also an interesting piece of the puzzle.
I recently became friendly with a black Messianic Jew, and he was educating me on the Black Hebrew
Messianic
Israelite
Jews
movement.
believe in that
So I just knew
New
that as some kind
Testament
of cult
stuff.
that says the white man is the
Jesus.
manifestation of Satan, and that they're the original Israelites, and Jews like you and me, we are fake Jews, etc. And this felt, but I didn't have a lot of information or history because I'm.
All right, but anyway, I mean, he go off to try to say that the tribes of Israel are some European folks that left during the Assyrian times and all that stuff. But all this boiled down, you know what I'm saying, man, to this right here. You know what I'm saying? How those Jews of West African Megharbi descent, especially the Jewish community in Nigeria, the Igbo's, Megharbi West African Jewish communities in Nigeria also claim descent from Yemenite. Those are pure Edomites, Edomite Jews, the men that come from Yemen, Morocco, and East African Jewish communities. Edom, Megaherm, Mazakirhim, Tamanim, Shebharadim, Limba, Ethiopia Jews, Beta Israel, Ashkenazim, Beni Anusim, all connected to Edom. They never lost their heritage or went through none of the curses that Prophet Moses said that the Hebrews would go through. And this is what caused us to go through the curses and make us lose our heritage, is because we Hebrews said that we was going into Egypt to worship the Egyptian religion. You know, that would cause us to lose everything. You know, but as I showed during King Hezekiah time and during King Josiah time, that all the Hebrews was there, and the next event would be the Babylonian troubles and stuff. And that's what the book of Jeremiah and Ezekiel is about. And like I said, the prophet Ezekiel was taken to that same river, Gihon, and this gonna be the first wave of the captivity. Let me show this real quick. You can't never trust nothing them beasts say. All right, if you go right here, look, they gonna tell you a river. Look, Gihon. Look, that's the river Chabar. All right. That's the river Chabar. Alright. And it says, a river in the land of the Chaldees. It is commonly regarded as identical with harbor, and perhaps with the royal canal of Nebuchadnezzar, the greatest of all cuttings of Mesopotamia. But alright, you know what I'm saying? If you go down here, the Chabar is the same river as the Gozon and the Gabar, the Chabar. You see Habar. You see right here, they gonna tell you that it's the same. That Habar is the same as Chabar. Chabar and Habar is just one that's translated by Greek, and the other one, you know what I'm saying, they keep a little Latin. So the Hebrews that was taken during the Assyrian times to Habar is gonna be the same as the river Chabar that Ezekiel and them was taken to. So the Hebrews that was taken during the Assyrian times was there during Ezekiel time, and this is what the prophet Jeremiah had to say. This is what the prophet Jeremiah had to say. You know what I'm saying? I think this is the prophet Ezekiel. Let's see. River Chabar. Isaiah. Time running down. All right, let me just show how we went into Africa. But the river Chabar, you know what I'm saying? The exiles will be taken there, and that's the same river that the Assyrians took the people to. And if you go to Isaiah 19, Isaiah 19, you'll see this. All right. Isaiah 19, 23. In that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Syrians shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptians into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. All right. In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land, and whom the Elohim of hosts shall bless, saying, Blessed be Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, my inheritance. Okay, that's because them folks was coming up out the Caucasus Mountain. Them folks was coming out the Caucasus Mountain, and Assyria came and took the fighters and took the three tribes to the river Gazan, and then they did some work up there, and then they would help fight them folks coming up out the Caucasus Mountain, them Scythians and stuff. They would help fight them, and then they made it back home when Assyria was destroyed. You see what I'm saying? When Assyria was destroyed, some of them come back home. And then even if they didn't make it back home then they gonna be made it back home with Ezekiel and them, because they was at the same river. You know, the same river where the Assyrians took the fighters, gonna be the same river where the Babylonians took the captives during the Babylonian wars. And we would, you know what I'm saying, and we would break the covenant. We would break the covenant, and this would allow them to create all the myths to be telling lies about. If you go to Jeremiah chapter 44, you'll see that this was a state of mind, and we told the prophet Jeremiah that we was through with the covenant. That's because we said, that we was, wanted to do the Egyptian religion. See, after the Egyptians killed King Josiah, because he had cleaned the Egyptian religion up, and the Egyptians tried to come across the promised land to help the Assyrians who was fighting against them Babylonians, and the Egyptians killed King Josiah and put us on the Egyptian religion, and we would go into Africa because we would get back on the Egyptian religion. And that's when Prophet Habakkuk called for Ashkenazi to come in and get us. All right, if you look at Jeremiah chapter 44, verse 15, 16, 17, and 18 is a state of mind. And then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by a great multitude, even all the people that dwelt in Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, As for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings and our princes in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of food, and were well, and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have been consumed by the sword and by famine. You see what I'm saying? So we said, since we wasn't doing the Egyptian religion and doing the Egyptian Sahara stuff, because Egypt ain't nothing but the Sahara. See, Egypt is part of the Sahara, and if we leave right there and get on into Egypt and get on into the Sahara, then you know what I'm saying, that was that on that. And that's what we did. That's what we did. You know what I'm saying? We went into the Sahara. And you know what I'm saying, to get away from Ashkenazis that, the Creator had, sent to drive us out the land. And that's Ashkenazi code name in history is Scythian. and we abandon our heritage to the Babylonian scribes, the Sepharvims, who've been having a history, a continuous history that go all the way back to Babel to now. They're going to be the only people right now on the face of the earth that can trace their descendancy all the way back to the Tower of Babel. You see what I'm saying? And they run the whole Western hemisphere, and they created the institutions of learning, and that's where all the myths come from. And they created the myths, the Babylonian myths, calling us bad names, that Ham did this and that, and we got classified as Ham because we ran into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. You know what I'm saying? And that's like if you go to Jeremiah chapter 43, and it come to pass that when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking all the words unto all the people, all the words of the Elohim their Yah, for which the Elohim their Yah had sent him to them, even all these words, then Azarias the son of Hoshiel, and Johanan the son of Ker, and all the proud men, saying unto Jeremiah, thou speakest falsely. The Elohim our Yah hath not sent thee to say, go not into Egypt to sojourn there, but Barak setteth thee on edge against us, for to deliver us into the hands of the Chaldeans, that they might put us to death and carry us away captive to Babylon. And then if you go to 2 Kings 25, you're gonna see that, that everybody, because I just showed you that all the tribes was there during King Hezekiah time, and how he even said that we escaped, and how all the Hebrews would have to be there during Manasseh, during Amon, and we was definitely there during King Josiah time, because I just showed you. And then how we all went into Africa in the book of Jeremiah. So we going into Africa to live and not do the covenant, and left our heritage to them people that was placed in our land. And then they some scribes that like to write and tell lies and tell stories and create gods and stuff. Then that's how our heritage got blotted out. And then that's how white supremacy started, because the people see them as being non-pigmented. And then that's why come they allowed all them Bibles to get made and passed out all over the world. Because if you think that the Jews are the original Hebrews, and you see them as being white and non-pigmented, then the white non-pigmented people gonna think that they God chosen people too, and then that's gonna give them the thought to go do the stuff that they do, to rob, kill, and steal and oppress other people, because they think that they the chosen people and stuff, and I showed you how all them people that told them 10 lost tribe lies, and told the folks up in Europe and Britain and England that they some Hebrews, and them folks been believing it and stuff, and them folks ain't been reading no scriptures. It's plain as day that it's no 10 lost tribes, as I've just read it and showed you. Then them people know, but because they tell lies, they go all the way back to their forefather Canaan. You know what I'm saying? Telling lies and stuff. Alright, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. I pray that this little video, kind of clear up a little something about where those myths come from and where them lies come from about them other people saying that they Israel. See, if they didn't go into Africa in during the Babylonian wars, then they ain't Hebrews. And then for the ones that's in Africa that's trying to claim that they Hebrews, if they didn't get on the ships and go to the strange land, then they ain't no Hebrews. And then it's got to be a reason how they, got to be practicing our heritage in the, form of the sin and stuff. And that's going to be because those Babylonian scribes had trade routes all over. Had trade routes all over Africa, everywhere. They was trading everywhere. But you see, they ain't too much trade in the Sahara. They circled the Sahara, circled around, and they ain't do no trading in the Sahara. They go do some trade around on by the north coast of Africa and stuff. But how they would trade everywhere, and when you be watching them videos and they be saying them Hebrews in India, them Hebrews in Afghanistan, them Jews in Afghanistan, them Jews in China, them Jews in Ethiopia, and in South Africa, and that's cause they gonna be went to them folks and did some trade long time ago. You know what I'm saying? And they done turned them folks out because the Hebrews abandoned the covenant. There's no way in the world that we could be doing the covenant on some land, you know what I'm saying, outside the covenant, you know what I'm saying, outside the promised land that Moses gave us. It's impossible that once we was up off the land that the curses instantly come into play and stuff. So, them folks can back up. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. We ain't going for that stuff. We ain't going. Shalom, Hebrews.